Good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the November 16th, 2023 open meeting of the Guelph Police Services Board. And I'm going to start with our territorial acknowledgement. As we gather, let us take time to reflect on our privilege to live and work in Guelph, a city built over rich Indigenous histories. We are guests here, and we should reflect upon the responsibility to care for this land, the people who live here today, and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us toward reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as the traditional lands and a place of refuge for many peoples over time. But more specifically, the Atitawanda and the Haudenosaunee. This land is held as the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Haldimand Tract and is part of a long-established traditional hunting ground for the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have come from across Turtle Island, call Guelph home today. So, thank you. I am now going to ask if there are any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflicts of Interest Act. Hearing none, I'm going to declare that item of business closed. Next item, I'd like to introduce Mr. David Lee, the Director of the University of Guelph Campus Safety Office, and invite him to present the highlights from your May 2022 to April 2023 annual report, a copy of which is in the materials found for this for the open board meeting package.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to this meeting, and I'll start with my brief presentation now. Just quickly, the organizational structure here at the University of Guelph Campus Safety Office is, with me as director. I have two managers, one Tom Gill, one Dave Pringle. You might recognize those names. And then I have 4 shifts that work underneath those two. Each shift has 4 people on it. So I have 16 frontline people, 2 managers, myself, and I have 2 fire prevention officers, which aren't subject to here in this report. That's how I'm structured, and I report directly to the vice president of the university in charge of finance and operations. The highlights, basically, we're coming out of COVID years. It's very difficult to compare stats because things were very different in the 2 previous years. So some of the stats are up and down, but I want to talk about some of our administrative successes here on campus. The first one being our emergency management capacity here. I've ramped up a sort of a beefier emergency management position, which is now, the position was advertised and won by Tom Gill. Used to be with your police service, and he looks at all matters of emergency planning, right down to individual safety plans, emergency plannings for those that require assistance in, for instance, mobility issues, and broader emergency planning, such as campus emergencies, running the emergency operations center, working our software, our app, where we can notify emergency operations center members when there is an emergency. Everything to do with emergencies, he manages that whole portfolio. We've gradually been putting that together, those bits and pieces, and we're going to see how it runs for the next year or so to make sure that it's as efficient as possible. We may add more duties, or I may take away some duties depending on how it works. So I've front-loaded the position with basically anything that begins with the word emergency is going right there, and he's going to consolidate all emergency.
Mr. Chair, I think David accidentally muted the last 20 seconds there.
Yeah, so I got
muted back on. Okay.
I was muted as well. So.
Okay, so where did I leave off? Hi, my name's Dave Lee. No, we're not starting over. Basically, what I was saying was my emergency management position, it's a manager here, is being front loaded with all kinds of tasks. Looking for efficiencies in emergency management here on the campus. We have a variety of software notifications, our broadcast, if there is an emergency, a broadcast system. The person in that role now is to look after everything to do with emergencies. In the past, there was a little bit there. There was a little bit, all of us shared a bit of emergency management. It is now on that one person's job description. One of the things we do in terms of safety here on campus, you may be aware of, is we make free and available to everyone that comes on campus the Safe Griffin app. It's an app on your phone. It's a lot of people are familiar with those emergency poles around campuses where you hit a button and it automatically calls the dispatch center for help. This safety app has that feature in your back pocket. You can hit the button on the phone and it automatically calls our dispatch center. It also has an option to call Guelph Police Service immediately. Call 911 and get Guelph Police. It has a number of other features. What we've done differently starting last year, we're continuing into this year, is trying to raise awareness for this app. We have something like 23% of our students know about and download the app, and less than 10% actually have ever used it for anything, even just where am I on campus, hit a button and it shows you where you are. Things like that. We're trying to raise awareness so that people can have access to safety tips, be able to call our office, be able to find out where they are, be able to do the work alone. People that work late at night, we're 24/7 operation, especially when it comes to animal care. This safety app has the ability for people to register through the app, and they saying they want a telephone call or a notification every 15 minutes or every half hour. And the system will do that. We'll send them a little buzz, and if they don't reply back to it, then one of our officers goes to see if they're okay. Those are the people that are working alone. We do stuff like that here through this app to make sure that people are safe as we can here on campus. Next item that I wanted to talk about, we're trying to maintain or increase, is our bicycle patrol unit. My previous experience in policing tells me that bicycle patrols, where I have worked, bicycle patrol units are extremely effective. And so on campus here, I've got 6 people that are trained. There actually is a course to ride a bicycle. There is a police course to ride a bicycle. And I've got 6 people trained in operating bicycles on campus. And in the good weather, they're out. That's the first option. It's not a car, it's a bicycle. And out they go and they patrol around. In behind the scenes, our bicycle unit, one of our members, Sergeant Bouchard, is on the international board for IPMBA, which is it's the International Police Mountain Bike Association. It's a standard. There's a couple standards that different people use, different police organizations use, but the IPMBA standard is one that a number of Ontario police services use, including yours. And we offer training to Ontario police services, including Guelph. Guelph takes us up on that quite readily. That's great. OPP, Niagara. We also do some EMS folks, some fire folks want this training. So we offer it right here on campus, and we do have good uptake. And we run 1 to 3 classes a summer, depending on how many people are interested. So we have Sergeant Bouchard, who's does her teams meetings with the folks down in Texas who run this program. It's an international training standard, qualification standard for police bicycle operation. What's great about it is it gets people not only riding around without the noise and the notice of a cruiser, but it gets people talking to our officers. I sat with one of my bike officers one day in the center of campus at the University Center, and we sat there on the edge, and she had her bicycle and in her uniform with her helmet on, and we sat on the edge of a ledge, and it was nonstop people coming by to chat. Students, staff, faculty, they all wanted to talk to this officer sitting there with a bicycle. And it's a quite good community, a quite good way of connecting with our community members, and all kinds of topics they're chatting about. So I love the bicycle unit, and I will support it as long as I'm here. One of the things we have here at in our campus safety office, one of the things that's important at University of Guelph is experiential learning opportunities. So there's 2 ways that I do that, 2 main ways that I do that. The first one is the first aid response team. These are a bunch of volunteer students that we coordinate out of this office that do foot patrol or golf cart patrol. We actually have a golf cart for them for the long distance hauls that respond to all our first aid emergencies. They're trained at a higher level than the frontline officers. They volunteer. Many of them go on to medical school. That's why they're volunteering. They want this experience. So we give them the experience. So when we have an athlete who's, broken their leg, or somebody on the hockey rink that's knocked unconscious, or somebody that just cuts themselves in the lab, the first aid response team goes to it, and they get an opportunity to fill out medical type forms, and file them properly, practice getting into the world of providing medical service to people. And it's great. We get a lot of good feedback from our campus community about the first aid response team. I do every year. I do a number of letters for them to medical schools around the world. They want to know because they mention FRT, so the school needs to know what that is. So I end up authoring those letters. The second thing that we do for experiential learning is our auxiliary unit. We ask we're fortunate here at this campus to have a criminal justice and public policy program. So we have a number of students in that program that want to become police officers. What I try and do is attract a number of them to apply to our auxiliary program. And auxiliary is a minimum 10 hours a month, walk or ride along with us. They usually do more than 10 hours a month, but that's the minimum. And we ask that they apply in writing and declare that they do want to become a police officer, or at least thinking about becoming a police officer. So we select, there's a number of us here that are former police officers or retired. We select auxiliary applicants who we feel may be suitable for the position. In turn, what they get from us, they volunteer with us. They sit at tables in the UC Center and talk to the public about the campus safety office. They come along with us on patrol, and they spend time here with us. What we give them in return is some help and some guidance on the whole police recruiting process, when they should apply, that kind of thing. What are the standards? Go onto the website, make sure you read it, follow it. If you have any questions, let us know. So we help them try and become police officers when they graduate. We did have one candidate was timed it perfectly, so that was hired and still had to leave Aylmer Police College to come back to do the final exam. I mean, that's how closely this officer had his hiring date timed right to the end of, so stepped out of University of Guelph, went right into a police service. So that's what we try and do for them. And in return, what we get is some buzz around the auxiliary program so that more students want to apply. And the more applications we have, potentially the better candidates we have. So that's what we do for experiential learning. We did in up to 2023, and I plan on continuing that as long as I'm here. We do have a lot of people aren't aware that we do have a full 24/7 dispatch center here on campus, and they're trained by someone that's retired from the dispatch world, actually from Guelph Police, and they learn the proper way to dispatch and how to, more importantly, how to, when it's needed, communicate with Guelph Police Service. So we get a call in here that's actually shouldn't be coming to us, it should be going to Guelph. What information does Guelph Police Service dispatch need? How do you package that? What do you tell them to be as efficient as possible? So we make sure that our dispatchers are trained or qualified first with background checks, and then trained. That in a nutshell is what's gone on last year, and in terms of the administration side of our program here. And I want to talk about our incidents briefly. And the report that you have, there is one typo on there. It says that we had no cases of hate. We actually in 2022 to 23, we had 5, not 0. I'm not sure how that typo happened, but you'll see a 0 against hate, but it should be 5. Otherwise, I am told the numbers are all accurate. That one was missed for some reason, and I'll have to have someone follow up. One of the big things that I was happy to see is a drop in theft of bicycles. So the previous year, ending 2022, we had 62, and ending 2023, we had 35, so almost a half. And I'd like to credit that on, wizardry on my part and guiding the officers and patrol and everything, but we've slightly increased our bicycle patrol hours, but not by that much. We've increased targeted foot patrol to the bicycle racks, but not by that much. So in terms of why we had such a drastic drop, I'm not sure. But we're going to look at our, we're now going to look at the bikes that were stolen. Was there something about the bikes that were stolen that were desirable? Maybe the other ones could have been stolen, but they didn't really want them. So that's where we're at now, just to see if certain bikes were targeted. And preliminary check doesn't show anything unique about them. They weren't super high-end bikes. They just seemed to be bikes of opportunity. The guess is, of course, it's a poor locking system. And so we have a lock exchange program here that I finance along with the Student Association. You bring us a sort of a weaker lock and we will give you one of those steel D locks, give it to you. And that program that's been ongoing, and we haven't had that much of an uptake increase, slight, but that could all those things I said about our foot patrol, our bicycle patrol, the D-lock, may all in their own tiny bit have contributed to the decrease in bike thefts. But in all honesty, I'm scratching my head. We really want to find out what we did right so that we can keep doing it. So that's kind of a full disclosure there. Criminal code charges is the next thing I want to talk about. This is something that came up out of about 3 or 4 years ago when I did this report. Someone suggested that I track criminal code charges, students, like university-related people and non-university-related people when it comes to criminal code charges and a few other charge lists. So we have ending 2023, May of 2023, we had 18 criminal code charges against people that have nothing to do with our campus, and 7 that are from our campus. I'm on page 17 for anybody following along. So 18 non-campus people, 7 that were from our campus. That trend seems to be, it's actually not as high as it used to be. I think one year it was 94% of our criminal charges were against people that have nothing to do with this campus. A number of those people are, some of them, some of them have Canada-wide warrants that we've discovered on campus and we've arrested, and others we just catch in the act. We do have an extensive camera system on here that's been upgraded over the last 3 years, and that has helped enormously for us to notice someone walk from area to area to area, finally see a camera angle that shows a face. And at that point, we talk with Guelph Police, who's very quick to get back to us and say that is so-and-so or that person's unknown or something. It really helps us a lot with the investigations here. One of the other ones that we have is Trespass to Property Act, and those charges, 75 charges against people that have nothing to do with the campus, and 11 for people that are on campus that are going into buildings they're not supposed to be in, things like that. So that in terms of trend analysis is fairly similar year over year, but it's still something that we have to be concerned about, is the number of our arrests and trespass. Sometimes it's a ticket, sometimes it's an arrest. Those people are mostly from the area. Let's say, I'm not going to say the city, but they're from the area generally. In fact, we had one couple that was from Calgary. I don't know what they were doing here, but they ended up being arrested. And Calgary wanted them, and Guelph Police, of course, came in and assisted with that, and the people were removed. Good news, and I'm watching keenly for this year. Our Mental Health Act stayed the same. Our Mental Health Act issues, either apprehensions or calls for service, stayed the same on campus. Which one of the things we have here on campus is Impact, and I believe you know about that here in the city. It's a fantastic service that we have on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. We have trained mental health staff that work here out of my office, and when we have a mental health call, they go. If there's no violence, no weapons indicated at the call, they go to the call. My officers tag along, kind of a 50 feet behind, kind of out of sight. And the impact worker will go into the student, usually it's a student's room or wherever they are, and determine the best course of action. That impact worker has all kinds of resources at their disposal, can deal with the subject at I'd say a better way than a uniform officer could do. And what that impact officer also does, if indications are that an apprehension might be required under the Mental Health Act, they provide the information that Guelph General is going to need for when that person is brought into the hospital. So there's a faster turnover at emerge because there's already been a frontline assessment done by these impact workers. That the impact program was arranged through our student health services, and they work out of my office because we dispatch them. We send them to call, so it's best that they're here with us. But we make sure that we don't ride along with them. We don't deliver them to the scene. We don't do anything like that. We try and stay back away as far as we can because of some cases the uniform's triggering. So we don't want that to add to the problem. That in a nutshell is my report up to 2023. There's all kinds of stats we can go into, but I think that that gives you sort of an overview of what's happening on campus and the efforts we've made to try and make this, as I say, when I go into different meetings, the safest campus in Canada. We do have fantastic relationships with the Guelph Police Service at all levels. My officers can call over for advice and for help, and they get it immediately. There's no hesitation. And certainly I can call the chief or the two deputies whenever and to get some advice or information, guidance that I need. And it's in terms of my counterparts, I say this every year, I'll say it again, because I meet with the different people in Ontario, in my position, Ontario universities, Canadian universities, and American universities, actually in UK as well. We've got a fantastic working relationship with our local police. There's nothing, and Chief, you may agree, there's nothing that I've ever called with to complain about that we haven't resolved either in that phone call or, and that rarely happens. I mean, once every couple of years, maybe an issue pops up. But we seem to keep the lines of communication open, and we seem to all be working towards keeping the campus safe. And we'll do whatever we can to lessen the burden on Guelph Police coming onto campus through our special constable authorities. And we keep our training up. We do everything we possibly can so that it's less and less of a burden on campus, on GPS having to come on campus. We have authorities, and most of them, the key legislation that we need to do most of the call service that typically happen on campus. That's why we have those authorities, and that negates the need to have an officer attend. But when we do need officers, they're here immediately. Our dispatcher calls over and they show up, and service is provided. So I appreciate that. And that's it for me.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions or comments from Chief Kobe?
After you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank Dave and just kind of echo the relationship between our members, he and I, and our two organizations. It's ultimately in service to our community and a testament to the many years of cooperation. So just thanks, Dave, so much for everything.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to, Director Lee, I'm going to thank you very much for your presentation and keeping us up to date with what's going on. And glad to hear that you're having good results on campus. And look forward to hearing from you next year with your presentation at that time. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. However, before we approve the consent portion of the agenda, if there's anything that people want taken out of that for a discussion. So can I have first, I guess we'll seek a mover of the agenda. Pam, seconded by Jane. In favor? Opposed? Carried. On the consent agenda, does anybody want to remove an item? Phil, you want to? Still frozen? Yeah. Okay, on the consent agenda, does anybody want to remove an item from the consent, move any items from the consent agenda prior to moving the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Cam, seconded by AJ. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chief Kobe, for your monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can hear me?
I can.
I only have one update this month, and some of our board and community members may have seen the Guelph Today article today, noting the many hours of overtime our members have had to work this year. I wanted to thank Guelph Today for sharing this story. I also wanted to take a moment to thank our members for the incredible amount of work they have done this year. The last several months have been very challenging, and our members have continued to work very hard supporting our citizens. We are projecting approximately 90,000 calls for service this year. This is the highest number on record for our city, and this has included supporting our citizens as we have navigated a number of major events, protests, and very complex investigations. So far this year, our members have conducted 4 homicide investigations. This is unprecedented for our city. In addition to their roles as dedicated members of our service, we must always remember that police officers are also moms and dads, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. They have the same family responsibilities as our citizens, and many times they miss out on important occasions with their friends and family in service to our community. It's important to note that our members have worked almost 40,000 hours of overtime so far this year, and we're projecting that to reach approximately 50,000 hours by year's end. This represents many holidays worked and countless occasions missed with friends and family. Our very important downtown supplemental staffing initiative this summer was possible because our members gave up time with their families to support our downtown. Approximately 136 days this summer, or 272 times, members gave up time off to make this initiative possible. I really sincerely, I want to thank you, our board, for your support of our multi-year budget, which is going to bring much needed support, both for our citizens and our members. And to our members, on behalf of our service, and I know our board, I just wanted to thank them for their tireless service and the sacrifices that they and their families make every day for our city. And that's my only update, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from any? Hearing none, I'll declare that closed. Next item is new business. Are there any items of new business for the board? Hearing none, I will declare that closed. For information items, our next open meeting will be held on Thursday, December 14th at 2 o'clock. Or sorry, via Teams, and will be live streamed on YouTube. I need at this point, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment. Do I have a mover? AJ, and seconded by Cam. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.